Yeah, I think so. I was looking for the.
Are you ready, Joe?
You're on.
Hang on, let me get this thing going. Let's see.
Want me to read this first into the record? Members of the public wishing to attend this meeting electronically may call the following conference call number from their home. The number is 1-888-585-9008.
008.
Excuse me, 9008. When prompted, following the instructions by entering conference room meeting ID 409-231-183. If you have any issues entering this meeting electronically using the aforementioned instructions, please dial 603-476-2366. With that being said, I will call the Town of Tuftonboro Board of Selectmen meeting for Monday, April 6, 2020 to order. Can we please rise and pledge allegiance to the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First order of business is public input.
I came to discuss the police station. I assumed that was going to be a public discussion, not just a closed. Is that true?
That has been, we postponed
Yes.
that because of because we can't have more than 9 people in a room, and we thought it would be more appropriate to wait until we could actually have a larger group.
I see, I didn't realize that, and that must be on your website.
Yes, I believe the postponement was on the website.
Yeah, I think they posted it. But,
Do you want to offer a few sentences? The floor is yours.
Sure. I came, so first off, I'm not opposed to a new police station, so I don't want to come off as a adversarial, voice of trying to shoot something down. My take on it was that it was, I don't know if egregious is the right word, larger than it needed to be potentially for the population of the town. I did notice some shortcomings from a design standpoint, but I also felt that it could be scaled back some, and I would love to be part of that committee that gets to oversee that or have some input on that on some sort of basis.
Okay.
I know we had talked about forming a committee. We probably should say that we are going to form one at some point in time when this all sort of shakes out. I've got a lot of similar feedback. The balance point for me is we need to get as much grant money as we can. If that drives it towards a little bigger facility than we think we need, we have to look at cost versus income. Other than that, I don't have any suggestions.
Sure. It's a public project.
Yeah. I know it. Some of the letters in the paper make the assumption that it's a done deal, and it really isn't. This is just the beginning.
I was remiss I did not get this week's paper because I didn't want to go to the
I'm going to stop.
Yeah.
Any other public information? Okay, I'll move on to the minutes.
Oh, actually, can I?
Go ahead.
Swap shop at the dump. Can I jump in there?
Yes.
Obviously, based on our current situation, we don't want to look at opening it. I would like to continue with the committee. At this time, obviously, it's not a good time to reconvene. The intention was that we were going to reconvene in April, and get the ball rolling again. Not my intention to forget about it and let it go under the rug and make it disappear, but just kind of wanted to go on the record that it is still in our minds and on the forefront of our
Conference
minds.
is no longer being recorded. This conference will now be recorded.
Anyway, so I just wanted to go on record that didn't consider it a dead issue, but when times warrant, we can open it back up again and get back together with a committee and staff, etc. I don't want people to think that, oh, it got thrown out with the bathwater.
Great. If I may.
Go ahead.
Sir. We do now have the ability to do virtual meetings with this conference call arrangement. So if you feel that it makes sense for your committee to meet, you can meet by phone, and you don't have to be all in the same place. Now, it may be that currently, there's nothing to be discussed or decided at this point. Obviously, things are sort of open-ended right now as we see where the restrictions on moving about and that sort of thing go. But if at some point between now and when the restrictions end, it seems to make sense to you to get the group together, you can do it on a conference call. And Karen has all the information on that. Or you can get a hold of me and we'll get you set up on that, if it makes sense. I mean, a lot of what committees do at this point is stuff that's like, yeah, well, it doesn't make sense for us to, we can push this off. And I will say that as one of the governor's series of executive orders, a lot of the statutory requirements on towns and on town committees and boards are temporarily waived. For instance, things like that the planning board has to meet once a month, that applications have to be considered within a certain period of time. All of that stuff is being temporarily held in abeyance to allow local government to function at an appropriate level as we go through the pandemic. I just wanted to know that that is an option available. So if it seems to make sense that
If we're getting to a point
getting
where-
everybody together just briefly, even to compare notes and talk, then that's something that can happen virtually rather than face to face.
So, and with your permission, I would want to be able to send out an email to the group. I don't think I need to get into conference call, just to say that, we're on hold, don't abandon the ship.
I think it makes sense to let the committee know that we're hanging tough until things change, and then look at getting back at it.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, we'll move on to review and approve of minutes. Thank you for your assistance.
Okay.
See you, Philip.
Our first set of minutes is 3:10 at 9 a.m. Selectmen's minutes. I have no issues.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Motion's made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0. Second item is Monday, March 23rd, 9 a.m. Selectmen's meeting. I have no issues.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
There's a motion made and second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Next item is Friday, March 27th, 8:30 a.m. at the Townhouse.
I'll move approval.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0. These are the minutes for Friday, April 3rd, Friday, 9 a.m. at the town office. I have no issues.
I'll move approval.
I'll second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are you abstaining or are you?
I don't think I was there. Was
You
I?
weren't.
No.
So I'm not gonna vote. Oh, yeah.
Okay. It passes 2-0-1. Next is non-public meeting, April 3rd at 9:16 a.m.
I will move approval.
I'll second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And are you abstaining?
I am abstaining again.
Okay, motion passes 2-0-1.
And I'll move that they be unsealed.
Second. Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes 3-0. We're a little bit ahead of schedule. All right, if I go to signature file. This is from our road agent. Jim would like to present the attached letter in a frame after signed rather than have it mailed. Andy would rather not be in public due to COVID-19, so Jim can give it to Andy on behalf of the board. You read the letter?
Yes.
Yep.
I will move approval.
Second, all those in discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. I have no problem keeping my social distance, but being co-presented, if it's okay.
Yeah.
Morning, Chief. Why don't you come on? Why don't you start? You're first on the agenda.
Right, given up, I don't know if anybody saw this before, they turned it in 2 weeks back. Was-
Excuse me, members of the board, could you please move one of the microphones towards the public for clarity?
Speak, Andrew.
Well, activities, you can see some areas it's up, although it's, some of that motor vehicle is dropping with a fewer cars around. Accidents about the same, arrests about the same, felonies are up. That's largely due to one little spree. Offenses are up, incidents are up slightly, but I think things are slowing down as people are staying in more.
You hear all right, Karen?
It's still a little difficult to hear the chief.
We'll move one real closer.
Thank you.
So it looks like motor vehicles are up. I don't,
Yeah, they're up, and this is February stats.
okay.
Since people have either A, been laid off, sheltered in place, et cetera, there's fewer cars going around. So I think that's gonna be leveling off for a little bit.
I just have one question. Right above the block that says category,
That should say February.
and that's from February 1st to,
From January 1st to the end of February, is what it should say.
I just figured it was a typo.
Yep. What I did is I took the January one and updated the numbers. And actually up above, when it says statistics, it actually should say the February 29. This is a leap year. But And just to, I guess to put one thing, that arrest, the county attorney's office is gonna be handling that because I have a potential conflict with that case. So, rather than have anybody question it, they've agreed to take that on. And I've told them just whatever, let me know the results. They wanted to know if I wanted to be involved in any decision along the way, so no, just let me know the steps. So I can enter in the computer and whatever you need from us.
So who was you weren't the arresting officer?
No, I was not. He's a relative by marriage, so. Not that whatever, I just don't want anybody,
Oh, that's appropriate, that's good.
not that it would ever cloud my judgment, I don't want anybody to claim it did either.
I apologize for interrupting. It's still difficult to hear the chief speak.
How far does this thing reach?
Maybe we can move this chair out. All right.
So how are you doing on personal protective equipment? You got everything you need?
At this point, we seem to. I know Adam, the fire chief, has said there's more if we need to get to it. And obviously, we're taking steps to not waste it and conserve it when we can. Because it's unknown as to when we can get more. So,
I'm aware that you're getting plenty of direction from the state and other agencies in terms of subtleties and permutations and how all this stuff means. And do you feel like you're being varied with this stuff? Or?
no, but every day there's a call, and sometimes on weekends there are calls, conference calls, and I know Adam is able to do some, and I might miss some, so I think it's important that we're all, and likewise, I try to make the legal ones too, Tuesday and Thursday, to answer some of the questions. So, I mean, I guess you kind of have to because things are changing so quickly. It did, on a Saturday, they kind of issued one thing, and then Monday, Monday, they changed it around a little bit. And so, as far as PPE, what's required and what is effective, not effective, as far as workers' comp, that sort of stuff, what counts as a exposure, and when we have to do a first report of injury report to the state.
Status of the USDA grant?
I've been collecting some of the stuff on it. I'll be working on it some more. I've collected some of the
Anything
data.
anything we can do to assist?
No. Nope.
Did the contact ever get back to the other two sources of grant? Remember there was NB and...
Yeah, I didn't see anything on it. I don't know if she's working from her office or not, so it took her a little bit to get back to Karen on the notice of hearing and that sort of stuff, so I can check on that, follow up on that.
I know our, excuse me, our fire station's the primary disaster management spot. How do you foresee the police station factoring into that? I mean, is that an avenue that we should be looking at to adjust the building accordingly?
I think I think the plans we have kind of address it. I mean, we have a EOC / conference room, if you will, which the only the way it's in the building, you can't really use that, like the fire station kind of open up and let people use that without having access to the rest of the way the doors are. We don't really have that layout, but I mean, as far as, and it's not super huge anyways. It's big enough that we could have a department meeting, training within the department, maybe have a few other people there if we need to do, if we have a case we need to brief a bunch of people on. It's not super huge, that room, but it's big enough to have a conference table or something laid out and kind of all sit around and go, okay, this is what we need to do.
Do you recall the conversation we had that I mentioned about a separate entrance and how it could be secured and whatnot?
I do recall you did something, did mention that, yeah.
That's an issue with me. I mean, constructively.
I mean, two things. Philip Hunter was just talking about the swap shop, but he did mention the police station and wanting to address the size. And my response to that was the size may be determined to a certain extent by whatever grant requirements there are, so that we can.
The argument of the size is kind of frustrating for me because it's not that much bigger than what the prior set, each prior set came up with. So it's not that much bigger. And this whole thing about size, it's kind of rough. I feel it's.
Yeah, we can't get wrapped around the axle in our position though. We gotta be able to sell our position. So if the position is, it needs to be this big, then we need to give reasons why it needs to be this big.
It needs to be that big to meet the standards and one of the arguments that came up at town meeting, which was silly, was this thing about the garage being large evidence. It's a garage. It's no bigger than what we got really. We have a 2-bay garage now. It's essentially a 2-bay garage on this, and somebody was, oh, do we have that much evidence? I'm like, this isn't, you're making it was a specious argument, really. It was somebody.
But as I understand it, as the design was done, a number of factors went into determining the size.
Yeah.
Right? And some of that at least came out of regulations and requirements and.
To meet the modern, to be able to perform our functions.
Right.
Some of it is.
And those are all things I think that need to be unpacked as we go forward, so people understand.
It's not good enough to say,
Well,
this is what I want and it will.
It's not what, it's what's needed, because for employee safety, for example, somebody made, again, a thing about evidence. Well, that's a place where chemicals are used separate from our workspaces, so we're not potentially contaminating a whole building.
Okay.
That's.
This is early in the process, Chief, but I'm gonna suggest that what we need to structure is a conversation versus an argument.
Yeah.
So when presented with, it's too big, we need to have a conversation about why it's at the size that it is. I think it's kind of productive to argue about the need without just listing the facts.
Right, and that's why I say that's why there's the evidence, because we have a 2-bay garage now. Sometimes we have to put large evidence in there. It's marked on there as large evidence, but it's really another bay to put a car in. We can do maintenance if we have to, that we can't do now, essentially, because our garage isn't heated, insulated, and all that stuff.
I was on the last committee, and we went by the IACP, the International Association of Chiefs of Police, and an office, a bathroom, an evidence locker. There are certain square foot requirements, and those were figured into, and they really haven't changed. Just the location has changed. As far as evidence, the chief has mentioned this. Anybody who will listen, there's different types of evidence. For example, drug evidence can't be put on the shelf where there's lost and found. A weapon. What happens if you get a car? The state has to do a reconstruction on it. Then years ago, I can remember in my career, you'd take a blood sample and you put it in the refrigerator next to your sandwich. Well, you can't do that anymore because that's been challenging.
Well, I mean, rather than, I didn't want to go into the minutiae of this.
Right.
I guess my frustration is
But what is gonna happen, smarter people than anybody in this room, at the end of this pandemic, are gonna somehow come up with an idea of what would be best suit small communities. And there's gonna probably be some federal help in that regard. So I just wanna make sure we're on top of that, as well as whatever grant we're currently working on. Because my feeling is when people say the building's too big, they're saying the price is too high.
Correct.
I mean, if we could do the building that we have designed there for $1.25 million, we wouldn't be getting any pushback. So we need to structure our position to accommodate for that. It's the unsaid, they want to justify not spending the money by attacking the building. We need to find.
Well, this isn't your first rodeo either, so.
Yeah.
I guess that's my frustration. It's the same argument. It's Groundhog Day. We're going through the same stuff again and again.
But you will. I mean, that's-
I'm just saying, I mean, where were you?
But again, it
6
just
years
seems
ago,
to me that you start with the
14
building blocks
years
and
ago.
say, well, here's how we got to what this is. I mean, and you can somebody can certainly look at something and say, well, how about if we make this, 10 square feet smaller? You can do that all day long, but there was a reason that it got to the size that it is, and it was a process that they went through that I think was straightforward and logical to get there. It's just a matter of everybody understanding the process.
And that might be the first report that was never finished, too. If you recall, there were 2 reports. One wasn't finished.
Yes, one of them, the chairman quit halfway through.
No. I'm talking about the reports by Alba.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's 2 reports. They did a needs one at the beginning, and then it got shifted over and they never finished it, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we need to create as much information as we can. I mean, it's easy to fall back on the Groundhog Day reference. I remember getting driven out of office for even suggesting a building.
Yeah.
And that building, with a combined fire and police, would have cost less than our current fire station. But people aren't interested in being reminded of how stupid they are. So we have to move forward with what we have.
I think that's where that other report might be beneficial to have that finished up.
Yeah. So we have to pull that out and take a look at it, and and I will try and.
But to me, it's not far off from any of the prior ones too. So I mean, it's not, they independently essentially came to the same size as the one that was going to be where the library was.
Mhm.
So, or is, library is, so it's not. And it would have been smaller if it had been attached to the fire station, but that was because we were sharing some
Spaces.
spaces.
Yeah, you didn't need a separate boiler room.
Yeah, they need separate mechanicals, they need separate, some of the storage, they need a separate entry,
Right.
some of the.
But that one didn't fly, so.
It didn't fly, but my
We have
point
to, we
is-
have to work from where we are today,
But
right?
I'm just saying, it's
Right.
not that far different than anything that's been proposed in the past.
Well,
That
and
nobody raised
we
these
know
issues.
over the years that as we've looked at these big projects that come along, one of the things that is raised as an objection to the current project is, well, we really need a new police station more than we need a new this. So now we're to that point, and
It's too big.
well,
I think it's more sticker shock, I mean, if they could get
You know,
it for
it's-
less and at the same, they wouldn't care the size.
yeah, no, it's,
Yeah, and I don't see the town meeting as anything other than the salesman presenting the first offer.
Yeah.
I mean, we're gonna go back to the sales manager and get a lower price. All of this is working towards something. If 25 people had called me about the price tag, I'd be more concerned than now that 4 people have called me about the price tag.
well, and I actually have had more than one person say to me, are you sure this is big enough? Because how do we know in 10, 15 years what we're gonna need? And based on my looking at it, it has sufficient space to accommodate what we're gonna be needing to do in the near future. And as I recall, it's also gonna be sited so that if at some point in time you have to expand it, you're not totally out of options for that, which I think makes a lot of sense.
That was the advantage of the Dearborn property, is that it didn't impact other
Right.
services and you could expand on it.
Okay. Can I move on to a couple of other issues? Last year, we had discussion about this sign that's down at the boat launch in
Mhm,
Mirror
yeah.
Lake. And I realize you've been busy, but I guess the sign doesn't meet or creates issues for your department. Is there any rewording of this you'd like to see? Remember the discussion?
Yeah, I do. Well, I guess it boils down to a discussion on the parking ordinance.
Could you review it and
Yeah.
get back to us with your suggestions? Okay. These are all things that people have asked me about.
Yep.
How many warnings or contacts were made by the police department this past winter season for cases of individual plowing snow across public roads?
I don't think any, maybe one.
Okay.
They didn't get any complaints that I'm aware of.
In the past few months, there was a number of cars broken into. What is the status of the case? And would it be possible to create a press release where the public is advised and how the public can report any new leads or new information? Would you consider that?
Well, I mean, the person's been arrested, they're sitting in jail, and all trials have been put on hold for a while, so it's where it is.
The suggestion to me is a little news media item might jog someone's memory, then create, they told me they read these things from time to time in the newspaper, and I'm passing it on for your consideration.
Okay.
Last year, there was an arrest of a man named Mansfield for a series of drug and gun-related offenses. What's the status of that case?
Don't know, that was a task force case. We just assisted them. Not our case.
Is there any way of you just getting some information and advising the board?
I can ask,
Would you
but
consider
it's
it?
their
Okay.
thing. They'd be responsible. I can't dictate to them what they release for information.
I'm sure you have contacts, right?
I can ask.
Sure. There was a gas leak on Bay Road. What is that status? It was being investigated by
You're talking
DOT's
propane
office.
leak?
Yes.
It was, the county attorney's office declined to indict.
Was there a criminal gas leak? How'd that work?
It was believed that somebody deliberately disconnected the propane line outside the building.
Computer for the cruisers.
Working on that.
And do you have a target date? Do you need resources or?
Nope, I just have I have to work on it.
And is there a target date to have, I'm just concerned that you and your men and women are safe out there with the dead spots we have in town. Anything the board can do to assist. Okay.
How is the cruiser coming? We put an order in for that yet?
You can't.
You can't.
Nope.
Why?
Because they've canceled the orders. Because the factories are shut down, they canceled them. I've got somebody looking for one.
Accumulating orders?
Nope.
Seems odd.
Nope, because they're ready to switch it. They figure they're not gonna start up till next year, so they're gonna start on next year's models. I am got a feeler out to see if there's any around, like that are already been made sitting on a lot somewhere. I'm waiting for a contact back on that.
So you could be looking at a 2021?
To get it this fall.
Yeah.
But that opens up, I'd have to go through a bid process because it's more than 10,000 and, see, I was okay before, because it was a state bid, and I was going through the state bid process, and our purchasing program requires, 2021, the state bids won't be ready till maybe November. But there might be some other bids that I can jump on too. I did get I shouldn't say no. I did get a notice from NAFA. They have a federal grant, federal bids that they bid out.
And I think there are also, there's a national municipal purchasing organization.
Right, there's a couple of them.
Right.
And this is one of them for fleets, and I went on their website, and again, they said there's nothing for, they won't do anything on Tahoes, they won't do anything on Chargers, they won't do anything on, basically there's no Chevys. They did have a thing about Durangos, but it's probably something on the lots already. I'd have to look at it, but there is supposedly a line on possibly at some Tahoes on a lot somewhere, but I don't know if they would fall within the bid spec.
Well, it sounds like you're on top of the situation, right?
Doing the best I can, but because they shut down, they're not accepting orders. Because I know with the Tahoe and the Charger, they just, in fact, the Charger, they stopped taking orders last fall. They canceled, and the same thing, Tahoes, they just canceled. If you had one in the queue, they canceled it. They put back in, so.
Next is, what is the status of the radar trailer and the radar sign? Are they operational, ready to go?
I haven't checked them, but they should be.
Is there anything the selectmen can do to assist you with resources to get them mounted?
Nope.
The last couple of weeks prior to this week, the time slips weren't turned in.
They were turned in.
Were they on time?
Yes, you asked for them too early.
Okay.
The memo you gave me kind of upset me. Because you put in big bold letters in the middle, larger font than anything else on there. That's like, in all in caps, that's like yelling at somebody and shaking your finger in their face when you do that. And there was no way to get it done at the time you asked for it. You asked for them, they had them. This is what happens. I have people working Wednesday night after the time comes in. I have to look at them, and then I turn in the hours to Diane, but then I look at the hour sheets, and if there's something that has to be fixed, I may not have it at that point. So the hour sheet that you asked for, there had to be something fixed before I send it over across the hall. It has, because the originals have to be with Diane in case the Department of Labor comes in for an hour, wage and hour audit. So it had to be something fixed. That morning we had a meeting, so I couldn't look at it, because Thursday night it had to be fixed. And we had a meeting here. Then I give it, they go to Vicky, who doesn't come in until 10. That memo was in my box by 8:30 in the morning. I mean, Vicky comes in at 10, and then she was out sick, so she didn't make that copy. She takes those time slips, that weekly, and puts the daily logs, and that's when she uses to generate the percentage of time and all the different categories that we turn in every month, when everybody's time sheets are done and correct. But sometimes they have to be fixed if there's an error before I'll turn them over, the original over. So they'll get there, don't worry, but it's not gonna be there. Sometimes it takes a few days to get it there. That particular one, when I got that note, it kind of set me off a little bit.
Diane hasn't, by the time she needs to make payroll.
I turn in hours as a weekly slip
Right.
that I generate. But with the ones that they sign, sometimes I find a mistake or something has to change, or they didn't initial a change to it. The originals have to, with the original signature Diane has to have, which I turn in as soon as they're done, they go there. But what happened was Vicky was out sick. I didn't know she was gonna be out sick, but that's what happened.
So it's itemizing the activities,
Right,
is what Vicky's doing?
yes. So, it got there. It just wasn't right away because she was out sick and
I mean, what, Mr. Chairman, what was your modus operandi, or what was the motive for it? Would Monday be too late? I'm just trying to figure out where you're going, so I can either defend you or not.
I went to review the paperwork, and there's been 1, 2, 3, 4 instances where I go through all the time slips that are attached to the checks, and there haven't been time slips there.
they should all be there because
I don't know how, I don't think Diane will make out a check of this. I mean, what is she gonna, they're not on salary.
right, I turn in the hours that they worked,
Yeah,
but their time slips, sometimes if I don't give the original over to Diane until it's correct.
So what you prepare is a report of hours worked. that You
Yes.
sign and turn in.
Yes.
And then when the time slips are correct, you
I give it to
put that in
Vicky,
back
Vicky
up.
makes a copy of them and brings them over to the original over to
So
Diane.
she works off of your certification of the hours.
Yes, Diane does, which is off, like, in this particular case, somebody left some hours off their slip. While I'm doing the hours for Diane, I contact them and say, how many hours you worked this week? Because we're obligated to pay the hours that we feel that they worked, whether or not they put it on their time slip or not. If we know they worked, we're obligated to pay that. So I got that, and I also have the daily logs from dispatch to see when people's in their schedules, so I know who is supposed to work when and all that. So, I mean, I guess my point is, a couple days later, wouldn't have made, I don't know that it would have,
well, is it a couple of days? I mean, I guess that's the question. Does that itemized work receipt come in by Monday?
typically, yes.
Chief,
Yeah,
I'm just going to cut you off right here, and I apologize. I listened to your criticism, and I take it honestly, and I appreciate you speaking. But there was one incident recently where I went a week later and said, have the time slips come in? And I was told no.
I can't, I don't know when that was.
All I
It could have
know-
been when Vicky was out, she was out.
This is not aimed at you personally, but if you need services or you need a way of getting the job done, I want to be the type of guy that makes those resources available to you. My motives are honorable, sir. Thank you.
Well, so that we don't have to revisit this time and again. Can we accept the fact that the chief's gonna have that information available by the following Monday, generally?
Really, yeah, it usually
Okay.
is. I mean, it's,
Okay.
this happened that she was out sick that Friday too, so that kind of compounded things. And then she was told to self-isolate, so, and we were all trying to wrap our brains around where we're going with this, with the COVID. So, and I was spending time on the phone calls and doing memos, trying to keep up with the PPE, so I thought that wasn't a make or break thing. I mean, they had the hours, everybody was paid properly. We'll get the hours in, and because she also takes the logs and puts it together and does that other chart that shows the percentage of discretionary time. So
Okay.
that's,
Last, anything to add?
nope, that was,
No? Thank you.
Thanks, chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Good luck now. Jack, how are you?
Good, how you doing?
Fantastic.
Hey, Jim. Take Andy's seat so Karen can hear you on the microphone.
Or just move one row up.
All right, I guess I'll start with my updates. Since last time we met a few weeks ago, we actually have plowed and treated twice since in the last 3 weeks, which I'm hoping that's the end, but there is possible snow in the forecast for Thursday, hoping that doesn't amount to anything. We also ground down some stumps on the side of Sodom Road and Dame Road that were kind of a nuisance for plowing and mowing. So I'm glad to have those out of the way. We have filled potholes and low road edges as they are melted. And we cut back some limbs to open up some sight lines. We cut dead trees along the roadsides. We've been opening up drainage in the ditch lines and the culvert openings. And we've been ditching along the side of North Line Road to prepare for paving. And today we're taking off the load limit signs with Wolfboro. They're doing as well. I think every town around us has got their signs off already, so.
So that's done.
Yeah, we're doing that now. Tomorrow I have a meeting with Frank Carroll to go over the paving, which brings me to a possible change in the paving if you guys agree. On Dane Road, we had planned to pave the top section towards Ham Hill. And if you guys have been over Dane Road recently, I think you'll see that going the other direction, back down towards 109A, seems to really get beat up this year, worse than ever. I've never seen it like that. It really sank down. Probably, in some areas, it sank down probably 18 inches. It was in just long rows. It's never done that before. That area's always been good.
And I know it was bad enough that if you didn't have good ground clearance on your vehicle, you couldn't drive over to the side. You had to be
Yeah.
going the other way.
So I think most people had to avoid that road completely. We did fill it in with gravel, trying to, help with the situation, but it was really bad. And that area was right near, like, Dennis Gillum's house, which we would have to do some significant changes there. There's some trees that would have to be removed and some ditch lines to be dug out if we want to go that route, if we want to go down that way. I don't know if that's something you guys want to look at. I'm going to meet with Frank tomorrow and review it with him.
Yeah, why don't you get a price from Frank and see what we've got?
Would that include grinding it?
It won't do, for what we had planned already for the money to do the upper section, my feeling is we're just going to go the same distance. I don't think we can go the whole distance. I wish we could. But we got a price from that earlier this year. It was $150,000 to go that direction.
And the upper section is how much?
I don't have that off the top of my head right now, but it was significantly less. But what I did do is I measured the same distance, and it did get through pretty much, it continued on from where we left off, going down to 109A to about, I think, number 38, which is the next the next house past Dennis Gillum's, which will get 90% of the worst section done.
I'll ask the question again. Does it include grinding the current pavement?
Yes, you would have to,
Yes.
absolutely.
I support you 100%. The roads that you've reground the pavement and it started with you, sir, they've lasted longer.
No question about it, definitely makes a big difference, and this road, is in such poor shape that I don't think there's.
And then we'll need to know the number for getting ready to pave it. You say you need to build some ditch lines and cut some trees, take some stumps out, so you need to factor that into.
We do, yep. I am working on that now, trying to get a proposal on the tree cutting and stuff. There are several large trees on that section.
Are those, not to skip around, but are those light green tapes that's on trees, is that your tape?
It is, correct.
Okay. So those are trees that are gonna come out?
Yes, I had the guys mark them, and we were gonna try to get a number on them, but it got so overwhelming that
Yeah.
we know they're there. We have a lot of them, and we're doing it as we can, but it's
I
overwhelming.
just didn't know whether it was a power company.
It's us.
They took a bunch.
It's us, and now we're kind of going back and going, okay, now we're trying to identify the worst of the worst. It's like, it's just so many of them. Then also, we talked about having a meeting up at Willand Road at some point so that we could possibly review that together. I don't know if that's something that still can be done for us to meet there.
Yeah, I don't think we need the whole board there, do we? I don't know, but
It's, I guess my feeling is it's the board and Jim that are gonna identify the things that he
Right.
needs to fix. So, as far as I'm concerned, a representative of the board's fine, or if we all wanna go, that's fine. Doesn't make any difference to me.
I have 2 residents that would like to be there as well, that live on that road.
Yep.
I'll volunteer.
Yeah, I don't mind going, I just don't wanna go out of the crowd, I mean, that just defeats the whole purpose.
We don't necessarily have to have them there as we discuss it. I think it could be just us, and then I could go back and report to them our ideas.
What do they feel their input is gonna amount to? I mean, are they gonna have requests?
The feeling that I've talked to both of them, and originated that we thought we would move a section of the road over to the edge of the wall, and we thought we'd mention it to the landowner. And he's like, I'm not sure if I like the idea. I understand that you want to get proper drainage and all that, but I don't know. I mean, if it's absolutely necessary,
Is it
I'm not
within
going to
our
stop
right
you.
of way?
What's that?
Is it within the right of way?
Correct.
Yeah, they don't really have anything they can say about it.
But I didn't want to leave him a giant banking either, so I just proposed that maybe I would lower the stone wall down and do this, and he's not opposed to it 100%, but he doesn't want to see a lot of change. He likes it the way it is.
Excuse me, the board, you seem to be getting a lot of background noise from cable noises. I apologize to interrupt, but I didn't know if maybe
It's Lloyd.
one microphone could be moved closer to the public.
We'll try and keep our hands,
Sorry.
we'll try and keep our hands inactive.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think, and I'm not gonna belabor this, but my feeling would be that we come up with a design that works for the road agent, works for the road, and that's what we do. We're not gonna make it into a 171 or 109A.
I think we were just spitballing ideas, basically, all we were doing. That's all it was. It wasn't anything definite. And,
I think it makes sense for the 3 of us to meet with
All right,
Yes.
Jim up there and go through it, and we'll come up with,
yeah.
with something that works for the town.
Okay.
I guess my feeling is if the residents have some strong issues with some of that, I'm happy to listen to what they're saying, but the most important thing is that we have a road that functions properly, and you're able to maintain, particularly winter maintenance, in a way that that works.
that's my big concern too.
Right. I mean, summer maintenance, yeah, there's ongoing things, but the big thing is you get up there in a snowstorm and you're way up there on the hill.
Yep.
Like it doesn't snow any up there, right? And you gotta be able to get the equipment in, clear it, get it turned around, come back out, in a way that you're not spending huge extra amounts of time to get the road cleared away.
Yeah.
I know the resident has been doing it for a number of years, but when you're doing your own lane, let's say, and essentially that's what it's been, it takes on a whole different character than when it's part of a road system that you have to
Correct.
maintain.
Different equipment.
Right, different equipment, different time allocation, the whole bit, right?
I want to move things along because we're up against a time issue. 10 o'clock, we're expecting a person to call in. Do you have anything else?
And that's it. That was the last time.
I have some things for you.
Okay.
Last year, we talked about the sign that says no overnight parking, and it's in conflict with the posted sign at 19 Mile Bay.
Yeah.
Is that going to be taken down soon?
I will. I did order the 3 signs too for the no parking as well. So
Yep.
my plan is we'll do that at the
At
same
the
time.
beach area?
Yes.
Yes.
So we can do that at the same time.
At 19 Mile Bay parking lot, the plow over the years has moved a lot of gravel up to one edge. Is there money in the budget to York rake that out, or whatever you do?
Yeah, we usually do grade that, or we'll fill it. And
Are you talking about the beach lot or the
Parking.
Parking lot,
the trailer lot?
yes.
Yeah, we'll grade that out.
When it comes to signs, on the 3 waterfront areas about docking and the hours.
Yep.
Do you need some money to order those signs? Do you know what I'm talking about? On the wharf, on Lake Street, and at Melvin Wharf.
I was under the impression that the chief was gonna do something with that. He isn't, you know,
As I understand it, especially at the Union Wharf, there's signs that conflict with what the town ordinance says.
he said something to me about he could change the time on it, the sign itself.
But there was other locations that actually need signs erected.
Okay, I thought we had them all up last year.
Okay,
So maybe we could review that again
sure.
at some point.
What projects, other than paving, are top on your list?
Right now, ditching is a big one, trying to get the road drainage, you know, correct everywhere. And then also the trees, we get a lot of dead trees down.
And is Carroll's, Allstate still gonna pave in June?
Yes, and when I talked to him, I was asking what his schedule was. I said, I'd like to do June again. And he says, June, we could do June, but if we could do it sooner, he would prefer to do it sooner. He has a busy schedule this year, they're full, and he has openings earlier, none later. So to be on the safe side, he would prefer to do it a little
Does he
prior.
need a deposit to urge him along? He has treated us right. Along with paving is white lines and yellow lines and stop lines. Is there enough money in the budget to do what you planned this year?
So we have the road sweeping scheduled for next week, and the line striping is the week after. I haven't talked to the white stop line guy yet, but I will. I have talked to the other company as far as doing the yellow, and we're gonna get them done in April. Sounds like the last week of April.
Great.
And then for the newly paved roads, we'll have somebody come back and stripe them later.
Those ones were never striped, so
Oh, that's right, those aren't
Yeah.
roads that we striped. Yeah,
that's why we were able to do these sooner.
yeah.
Yep.
And what about some of the other roads that we talked about midsummer last year, and we were gonna talk later about putting money in the budget?
I think we're gonna have to review that all again to,
For example, Sawyer Road, it's now paved. Our section hasn't been lined.
yeah, I think you're right, that kind of does seem a little awkward that it's not lined, theirs is, but, yeah.
That was one of the roads I mentioned. To shift gears, you got a bid for the Durgan Road swale, that was what, $7,800 or $7,500 to do that? And it's my understanding, have you contacted the state, is it still okay to use their catch basin?
The last time I talked to him was last fall.
It's a new
Everything was
guy.
good. It is a new guy, correct. But everything was good. We worked together on that project.
And have you spoken to the landowner?
I have not.
I didn't make myself available. Now, my understanding is that it's a 1%, it's a 4.5-inch swale that's paved and lipped, so it moves all the water in 2 directions, right?
I'm sorry, can you repeat how wide?
4.5-foot
400
swale,
foot. Roughly, yep, that sounds about right.
and it takes care of the water that comes out,
Correct.
and it's a little bit, now is a 1% slope reasonable enough, or should it be 2%, or what are your thoughts?
We have to work with what we have. It's not, it's minimal. It is minimal.
The idea, I know talking with you, the idea is that if this is the distance here, at 1% you come back as far as you can this way, and then go this way, and there's a driveway at the first house, right?
There is, correct. So we're trying to find the high spot and drain it both directions.
Right. And that will be paved when we do the paving, or be done separate?
Separately, because it's a different company.
Okay. Next thing I want to talk about is last year we put money in the budget to put the inner fender wells under the dump body. Is that going to be done this year on the town truck?
Hopefully. we should be able to, we ran into a problem with it last year, but,
It's $500, right?
well, that's what we thought, and then it ended up not being correct for the application, so we had to find a new source for that.
Okay, can you get back to us on that?
Yep.
Um, Do you have any contacts with the electric company, the utility company?
As far as moving poles,
No. They made your job real difficult by just dumping their wood in your ditches
wow,
here on the Ledge Hill Road. And they certainly made it difficult for the town and the cemetery, of just dumping them in the cemetery. Come on now.
The hands on it.
What?
Yeah.
well,
Up
I
by
think they
yard.
outsourced that particular job, but
Well, but it was a contract they had getting it done, right? I mean, it was somebody working for the utility that did
Correct.
that work.
yes.
So,
It's not a slam at you.
No, no, I understand.
So if you're pushing your pavement into June,
Or
trying to get it out early, have you had contact with the Farm Pond Road folks?
So I actually did. I did talk to Al, and I've already mentioned to Frank Carroll, and he's going to do that tomorrow as well.
Okay.
Yep.
And is there any other additional work that needs to be done down there other than paving?
On Farm Pond Road.
Yeah.
Not that I'm aware of. I could take another look at it, but it looked pretty good the last time I saw it.
Because we're going to be talking with our engineers from Conway,
HEB?
HEB. I think they were probably the town's engineers on that project. 'Cause that's generally
Yep.
what we hired. So you sort of you have to ask whether or not you would like to have the engineer take a look at it one last time.
I'd like to look at it again tomorrow when Frank is there. Maybe that'd be a good time now that snow's gone. If there's anything that's questionable, then certainly we could do that.
Okay.
but with respect to that road, there are other things besides just the paving that have to be verified that they're to
Yeah,
plan,
drainage and all of that.
all the other stuff, right?
Yep. Yeah, should do, you know,
Right.
technically I should be looking at each culvert and all that stuff. Yep.
Yeah, because once we take it over, we've taken it over, we own it. So,
I did see him when he was building it. I actually did go up there during the time he was building it. Looked like he was doing a super nice job, really was, so.
oh, it looks like a great road, I just want to make sure it's all done this back.
Yep.
All we have to deal with is paving it now, at the end of town. There was another building permit that got issued on that.
Yep.
So,
Anything else?
I'm good.
I'm all set, thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks, Summer.
Yeah.
We have a 10 o'clock call in by Chris Fournier.
Yes,
Karen?
Chris, you should be fine to speak.
Not here. Does that sound okay?
Hi, Chris, loud and clear, Lloyd Wood, Chairman. Go ahead, sir.
All right, so a few weeks ago, or maybe a month ago by now, I reached out to Karen about a recent conversation I had with CR Wilkie at New Hampshire DOT regarding the state bridge aid program, and just trying to keep you guys up to date on what I'm hearing with regards to that program. There was, I guess, and probably still is, a proposal to bond the program. So basically spend the next 14 years worth of funding to get the currently programmed bridges done within the next 3 to 4 years. And then essentially after that, nothing being done until 2034, unless the legislature adds some funding to the program. So this isn't much different than the last time we talked about Tufton Borough Neck Road Bridge, being that state bridge aid funding isn't available soon,
And
This really doesn't change that conversation. It just was an update that I wanted to provide. The last time we spoke, we talked about, because state bridge program wasn't really around, and the culvert isn't getting in better condition, it's only getting worse, was to get the project sort of shovel ready. That way the town was able to enact it either when funds were available, or if there was additional revenue from the legislature put into the state bridge aid program, basically ready to capture at least state bridge aid program funding, possibly for just construction. As we stand today, we've heard discussions about an infrastructure stimulus as perhaps the next round. We had a conference call with the DOT commissioner regarding that topic, and she indicated that infrastructure was on the table as a discussion point. In 2008, there was ERA funding put out there for infrastructure. And the way that funding was administered, essentially, projects that were shovel ready were adapted to federal requirements. And then those projects received 100% federal funding. So, it may be even more prudent at this point to get that project shovel ready, just get it on the shelf and ready for any funding sources that may become available.
So what would you foresee as the cost to get to that point?
Good question. The DOT estimated cost for the entire project was, if I remember right, $900,000 or so. The cost to get shovel ready, a good estimate might be about 10 to 15% of that. The question at hand, and that is a driver of that cost, is whether or not the town wants to go through sort of a quasi state bridge aid process, meaning proceeding through their normal reviews, but not accepting their funding. We recently worked with them to establish that procedure on a different project. That way, they're in tune with where the project is and happy with the technical progress of it. Because if there is a stimulus, it will come from federal highway, which would be funneled to DOT, and then it typically gets funded, gets funded from DOT to the municipalities. So making them aware of the project, and keeping them aware of the project and following their procedures would probably make it more likely to be available for that funding.
so does that affect the cost of the design work?
So we can get it shovel ready, just following normal sort of municipal and state requirements. If federal money becomes available, there would be additional work to go through the federal environmental permitting process called NEPA. Generally what happened last time is, there were normal state bridge aid type projects which follow the normal state procedure, which were shovel ready. And then when the federal stimulus was rolled out, we were requested to adapt the project to federal requirements. So we then switched gears and did the NEPA process, went through that, and then construction was administered. Federal government requires a full-time construction administration. So one of our engineers was on site all the time, which
questions, Chris. This is Lloyd Wood. Is there an alternate for making substantial repairs? This is what we did to Sodom Road rather than rebuild the entire bridge. And it took about 7 or 8 days. The bridge was out of service. Or is the construction of that bridge, and it's so serious that doesn't make sense?
Yeah, there are repairs that we can make to corrugated metal pipe arches. It involves slip lining, which would basically reduce the hydraulic area of that culvert. I understand, I mean, there's boat traffic there, and it's kind of tight as is. Correct me if I'm misstating that.
That's accurate.
So that would just make that, yeah, that would make that opening smaller, which may not pass muster with the environmental permitting agencies in the first place. And being that there's standing water on both sides isn't necessarily that feasible from a construction side as well.
Right. You said to do shovel ready. How long will the state accept a shovel ready plan? Does it expire in 3 years, 5 years, etc.?
So the part that expires, I mean, structural design is, it's ever changing. So, but I think a 5-year time frame on that aspect is appropriate. We would keep up and we can update the plan if they were to change. I don't see any foreseeable significant changes. With regard to the environmental permitting, DES wetland permits are good for 5 years, as well as the U.S. Army Corps of permits.
Another question is, are there any grants available through Northern Border or USDA that you know of?
Yeah, there are grants, and this bridge could be applied to any of those as a possibility. USDA, I guess, yeah, maybe. But I think for any of those agencies, getting something at least into the conceptual phase, that way you can show, at least some progress before application might be advantageous. But yeah, it wouldn't hurt to put this project forward to any funding agency that the town was aware of.
As I see it, there are 2 stumbling blocks. First of all, the state of New Hampshire, to put it nicely, is in a state of flux of how they're going to handle bridge projects. And item number 2 is this is a unique bridge because there's no alternate access. It's not like Sodom Road where you can come in from the other end. So the cost is driven up about putting an alternate bridge in, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, we've got, my understanding is now we have to look to find $180,000 to get ourselves shovel ready. Where are we going to find that?
Correct.
Right, so your 10 to 15%, Chris, is if the project's $900,000, which is the DOT estimate, then that means that 90 to 135,000 is kind of the design, the shovel-ready cost ballpark.
Yes.
Do I understand correctly? So you also mentioned conceptual design, and which I presume is sort of a bare bones initial look at it, and what kind of ballpark is that?
Yeah, so conceptual design is basically the 30% level. So it involves surveying, any hydraulic analysis that's necessary, any geotechnical analysis that's necessary, and then moving through the structure selection with the town. So choosing the type of structure that is wanting to be there, and then putting together a 30% plan set. And that's all going to be pre-permitting, so no permitting efforts, and then no sort of final design efforts, preliminary design efforts, doesn't matter.
So when you say 30%, you're talking about 30% of the design cost or 30% of the project cost?
30% completion. That's how we define conceptual, sorry. So I'm thinking of the fee, I'm sort of thinking of the fee at the same time. Because some of those costs are pretty high on the front end. The geotechnical analysis is pretty expensive. So I think I think you could probably be easily in the $30,000 to $40,000 range for getting the conceptual design.
And is that a part of the 135,000? Or is that in
Yes,
addition
there are no
to?
wasted efforts. There are no wasted efforts in that. That's on the way to the full fee. Yep.
I have nothing else.
What's that?
I have nothing else.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to address the problem at some point in time, but I don't know. It would appear as though we need to put together a warrant article for 150 grand to get ourselves to the point of shovel ready, at which point we make the decision, either the federal government's got money to do it, or we bond it and get it done.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem I see with the federal money and the infrastructure coming in at the state level and then getting distributed, they'll probably just pay off the bridges that they've decided they want to do. I mean, I don't know how we could isolate ourselves in that chain of money so that 900 grand or whatever comes up to us.
It's my understanding the list of potential projects evaporated when the legislature said, nope, we're going to start over again when we decide to fund this.
No, they have their whole list of bridges that they're going to do.
That's not
Right.
So it's not as if, wherever Romney is not going to get their Maple Leaf Lane bridge redone. It's just we weren't on that list. And it would appear as though they're pushing everybody that's not on the list out to 2034. They're essentially pushing you out to nothing. Because what's going to happen at that point in time? I mean, it doesn't take into account all of the bridges that are going to get listed between now and 2024.
Right.
correct.
And I don't see that they've spent any effort in trying to put the bridges on that have been on the longest.
Right.
It's more of a political effort than anything
Yep.
else.
All right, well, I think
Yeah, so-
you've given us some good things to think about, Chris, and obviously our challenge is,
I don't know, I guess one other, not to interrupt, I'm
Yep.
interrupting anyway. Part of your $135,000 or $150,000 shovel-ready plan is to go through the state process as if we were gonna be on the bridge list. So I think we need to know how much that effort is gonna cost, because my inclination would be not to even bother with it. Because if they're not gonna have skin in the game, they're not gonna get to tell us what we get to build. That's my feeling.
so Chris, the state process has requirements on it. The federal process, I think you said, has some additional requirements, is that correct?
Yes.
So if we proceeded as if we were not going to have the state involved in the process, does that streamline things? Does it provide us with any advantage over being in this quasi-state process? I mean, are there things that we would put into it for the state that at the federal level, you end up just, there's money that's wasted because you're doing something different?
Sure. So there is extra scope requirements for us to perform to follow the state process. So that does come along with additional costs for us. That work. And then again, yeah, you're right. There are additional federal, hoops to jump through at that point as well. My understanding, and I guess this is as best as I can assume at this point, is that there won't be access to the federal stimulus dollars without going through the New Hampshire DOT. So while yes, it does cost less to not go through the state review process, it may again, not allow you to tap into any federal stimulus dollars. And with regard to the timing of this, should a stimulus come out this summer, moving forward with a warrant article next March, it'll just be too late to jump into any federal stimulus.
That leaves us with a special town meeting.
Well, possibly, or if let me just backtrack a little bit. The conceptual design that we're talking that might be 30 or 40,000. In your opinion, would that be something that would be enough to be competitive for the federal grant program?
No.
Okay, you have to have a full design done.
I believe for the federal stimulus that the projects that are really shovel ready are the ones that are going to get that money, because again, there's still time changing it from shovel ready to making it federally, adjusting it from a state project to a federal project. So even that delay, they're not going to be tolerant. I don't think they'll be tolerant of needing to move from 30% design to 100% design and jumping through the federal hoops at the same time. The 30 to 40 for the conceptual design may make you better suited for those other grant opportunities, like Northern Borders or USDA or EDA or a few other agencies we work with.
Chris, I'm reviewing a letter dated March 19th, received April 2nd from Victoria Sheehan, Commissioner of DOT, and the Tuftonboro Bridge, Tuftonboro Neck Road is not listed on the 2019 Municipal Bridge Red List. It's not even listed.
Correct. It has a condition rating of 5. A condition rating of 4 gets on the red list. So it's on the cusp.
Okay. I have nothing else.
Yeah,
You've given us some things to think about, Chris. For sure.
yeah, we'd have to come up with a plan for how to do that. And
Okay.
do we need Chris for anything else? I had mentioned the Farm Pond Road. Do you want to have
Ask him.
Chris, the Farm Pond development off of Union Wharf Road, they petitioned to have their road taken over by the town. Could you just look and see whether or not your engineering firm was the town's engineer on that? And if you were, what it might cost us to have you just go and do a review of it before we actually take the road over?
Is it complete paved and everything?
I'm sorry?
Is the road complete and paved? Yeah.
They're readying it for the top coat of pavement, but, and that will happen before it becomes a town road. But the final engineering review needs to be done on it. And I think your question is, if your firm was the one that that did the engineering oversight on the development.
Yeah, we were. We did, last time I was in, at the end of 2019, we did review the file, I think with Karen, and just trying to, okay, I'll review it again and determine what we would need to do to perform a final report for that location.
Great, thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
We're all set?
Yep, anytime.
All right.
Have a good week.
All right, you too, thanks, bye.
Next item of business is Dave Kribbe. Brooks?
Morning, gentlemen.
Just move one seat down so you can,
So the microphone can pick you up.
pick you up.
How's everyone today?
Boyd Wood.
Good, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, a little shoulder surgery.
Well, you athletes will heal quickly.
I hope so. So I just took a trip over there to look at everything. I'd seen some pictures of it. Unfortunately, when we did the granite curb on the lakeside, over the course of the 2 days it was open, the frost had actually from the lake had heaved towards where the granite was. So when we went to concrete end, the lake end, the frost was up against the granite, so there was no place to put the concrete. At the other end, towards the parking lot, that did all get concreted in because that frost didn't heave into that hole as far. So we anticipated that we were going to have some repairs to be made. We didn't anticipate that much repairs, but we're going to take care of it. It's part of the contract. It's part of doing work in the winter in New Hampshire. So we're going to fix all that. The plan is to try to get over there and do that concurrently with the other work, and hopefully try to stop that tomorrow, provided that you guys are all on board with that. If not, then we'll, adjust the schedule as needed.
I'm not aware of why we wanted to delay getting the work done.
Are you? Pardon?
I'm not aware of why we would want to delay getting the work done at
No.
this point. There was a question raised about accessibility over that wall going down to from the perch beach to the natural beach. Apparently it's more of a step down than it was across the old rubble wall. And I don't know if there's an elegant way to address that.
I mean, it is installed at the elevation that was called out on the plans for the top of the wall. With the price of that block, we're not going to put it in higher than we needed to.
Right.
The only way that we could possibly adjust it, which I don't think that DES would really approve of it, but maybe they would be to add sand below the wall. Looking at it over there today, I personally wouldn't. I would just, if people that want to get down to the beach, they're going to have to walk around the end of the wall, would be what my suggestion would be.
What about having our contractor in town build a set of steps?
That's fair. Yep, very
Don't
possible.
the docks, the swim docks, don't part of those come into the beach? Or
They're all in the water.
Yeah. Yeah.
They actually make for those Ready Rock walls, which is what we used was Ready Rock. They make stairs. We've installed them before. Be happy to price something out if that's something you guys are looking for, or if it's something that you guys are looking at, somebody local that has offered to.
I'd be willing to look at that.
Yep, I mean, we can definitely put the set of stairs in there.
Or maybe 2 or 3 sets.
Sure, yeah.
So one of my concerns, I guess, about stairs is, well, it makes it easier to go up and down. It also may represent a hazard to somebody walking along. I mean, I don't know if they get inset into the wall,
Yes.
or, so now somebody's walking along the edge and suddenly there's a stair opening, and it represents a falling hazard too. So
Typically with the Ready Rock stairs, I would imagine that those are probably 3 steps for each one of those along that wall, for the most part, with 3 steps. Those 3 steps, the bottom step would be in line with the face of the wall and then recede back behind the wall. There'd be a return block that would come off the back of the front block and return on both sides to give you retaining as you go up the steps. I would caution how many you do, because you're not just talking about putting in steps, you're talking about quite a bit of block work. We have to pull out blocks that are existing there now and replace some of them, put in corners, things like that. It's not gonna be, buying just the step treads would be relatively inexpensive, but when you get into all of the blocks that you're gonna change out, it's gonna start to drive that price up. So I would just be cautious on how many actual locations you actually want.
Yeah, do you put a rail in?
Yeah. Yeah, well, it would seem to me that the wall is not that long, that a set of steps, if we're interested in doing that, is perfectly adequate.
I also spoke to the rec director, he spoke to me, and I'm speaking for myself. We recently had a couple of boat ramps where cement was put in, and it's lasted the winter and whatnot. And I hadn't thought about this before, but it also allows someone handicapped to walk down the ramp and go to the beach.
Yep. Definitely could look at doing ramps. Not something personally that I've done in the past, but it's definitely something that's possible. The question that I would have to wonder, because it's going across live sand, I would think that hopefully you wouldn't have to meet any ADA requirements, but I don't know that for a fact.
He's going to research that.
Yes, that would be the important question that I would ask, is if there's any ADA requirements.
It is kind of unique. The boat ramps are perpendicular to the beach line.
Yeah.
That's not, but concrete is a fluid medium, so.
The other thing to possibly consider, I would say in that case, if that's what you guys are considering, is potentially making an opening in the guardrail at the ramp that has just been installed, and potentially putting in maybe some of that geopave that we put in, that we originally installed, going from that boat ramp out onto the beach, so you have a durable surface that a wheelchair could potentially go out. You know, I don't think you're going to do it the whole length of the beach, but go out, 10 feet in front of the beach or something like that.
The handicap idea was mentioned, just someone who could go down on the beach.
Yeah.
Type thing.
And that's what my thought is potentially use that ramp as your ramp rather than.
Sure. And you still have to do the seams of the blocks, right?
Yes, yep, that is on the agenda. I'm having some difficulty locating the black foam right now, so we're trying to find that. It appears that from time in January.
Nothing is easy, is it?
No. In January it was readily available, and I was like, it's readily available. I'll order it in March, and I went to order it in March, and no one has it. So I'm trying to get a hold of it, and as soon as we do, we'll take care of that work as well. We're also one of the posts down there. We hit it with the mini excavator. We're going to be replacing that. So I don't know if you guys have noticed, one of the posts down there is broken off. We're going to be replacing that. That post will be totally replaced. And then the other great news for you guys is that we were all worried about potentially plant material prices going up, and maybe because of what's going on in the economy, I don't know, but plant material prices did not see any increases year over year, so we don't have to pass anything along.
Well, the price of oil's gone down too.
Yeah, so. But yeah.
So you're gonna get us a price on a set of stairs in the wall?
Yep, I'll do that as quick as I can, because if I can get it done while we're here, that would be great.
Sure.
If I can't, obviously we have to come back in and remobilize equipment and stuff like that, so.
Okay.
I'll work on something today.
I'm all set.
Great.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, guys.
And heal quickly.
Yes, thank you very much. Take care.
That's good news. Signature file. This is administrative abatement for lot 70-2-99. It's an abatement for $19. Have you read this?
No.
Have you seen it? I believe Jackie recommends it. Is that your understanding?
Yes, Jackie did recommend that.
Okay.
God, I can't fall asleep.
Well,
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Go ahead, start signing it. Motion passes 3-0. Our next item is notice of intent to cut timber. It's tax map 53-1-8 and 53-1-1.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Today is the 6th. Our next one is notice of intent to excavate. Tax map 55-3-3. And I have a note here that says no permit required incidental to construction. Have you reviewed this?
Why would they need an excavation permit?
It's so if they excavate in excess of what's allowed, they
For the house?
can be tracked and then they have to they have to pay the tax.
Oh, okay.
So I'll move approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Next is notice to intent to excavate, tax map 20-60, 66-2-70.
I'll move approval.
Is there a second?
We've got a,
You need to look at it?
no, you can tell me if we have a permit number.
The permit number is, it says if any, and it's not filled in.
So, I'm not ready to
I
say.
believe all the intents to excavate have a permit number except for that one for incidental construction.
Okay,
I should have written it on there if it wasn't on there.
right. I know this is a permitted excavation up on Sandy Knoll, but,
Okay.
yeah, but we do need to get the permit number on here. So,
Okay, sorry, I missed that one.
okay, so
Do you want a second to sign it without the permit number, or we'll just have her fill it in, or?
that would be my
All right, I second.
All those in favor say aye.
aye.
There's a bill in there for that same property that for the previous intent probably has that permit number if you'd like to see it.
This is kind of like the Wizard of Oz, you know?
Yeah.
We're sitting here going along, and all of a sudden the man behind the curtain talks.
Yes.
So this piece is on Sandy Knoll Road?
Yeah. It's a big pit he put in, about 5 years ago. It's what caused the intersection to be rebuilt there
Okay.
at Middle Road.
The next one is for lot 67-1-3, and I think, is that the permit number?
Yes. 2019 1EX.
And what is your,
I'll move approval.
Okay, I'll second.
all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next is gravel tax levy on tax map 66-2-70.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is this more paperwork to be signed? Or has it already been signed?
That's last year.
Okay.
So this is the gravel tax on that.
All those in favor, we said aye.
Yeah,
Motion
Aye.
passes.
Yeah.
Next is gravel tax levy in the amount of $40.32 on map and lot 55-3-3.
Move approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next is tax levy for excavation, $36.80 for tax map 67-1-3.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next is yield tax levy in the amount of $262.80. It is map tax lot 14-2-34 and 15-3-38.
I'll move approval.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
There's a second. Thank you.
Oh, you're right. I'm glad somebody's paying attention.
That's what they
That
had
was not
three-
me.
That's what they had three of us.
Yep.
Next is yield tax levy in the amount of $276.65 for lot 55-1-2-3 and -15.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next item is yield tax levy in the amount of $2,335.89 for tax map 67-1-2.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
I didn't realize there was that much oak up there. 41,000 board feet.
It's a few tables, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's it for signature file. Next will be correspondence. First item is Tom Albert. Was talking about updating computers and software. Have you read it?
Yeah.
Next item is it okay to send to the Wolfboro Board of Selectmen, signed by Dennis Zalombo?
Yeah, I think we all marked that
Yeah.
yellow sticky.
Yep.
Yeah.
Looks good. Next is LRPC invites us to nominate awards. It was sent to Steve Wingate. He sent us a confidential note in the folder, and we can review that later time. Any?
That's fine.
At some point, we want to revisit the department head's communication policy. I've typed up some notes, but I only brought one folder. Can we work on that?
Communications about what?
In an effort to enhance communication between the Board of Selectmen and the heads of the
Oh,
departments in
that.
Tufton Borough.
Yeah.
I have some thoughts,
Okay.
whatever. Okay. Dear Selectmen, Barry Ann has provided an example of what the town of Greenwood in Maine is supplying on their website for online services guidance. I attached a draft for the Tufton Borough. Is it okay to post on the website?
Who's asking the question?
Barry Ennis.
He wants to post something on the town website?
That is something that I drafted, in response, as a suggestion to what Barry provided for the other town. So I did something for the town of Tufton Borough, and I didn't know if you wanted that on our website.
So it's Karen asking.
Yes. That's-
Leave it in our correspondence file.
That's fine. I think,
Yeah, well, we posted the,
pulling all that stuff together, and what you're suggesting is having a page that pulls all that together, maybe with a button that you can click to from the front page of the website. Is that what you're doing, Karen?
That's what I'm thinking, just for people that aren't familiar with the website and want to know how to get like an attendance card or how to pay their taxes, things like that, it's kind of like a quick access, rather than having to poke around on the site.
so it's just the final page. I wrote this draft when all of this started happening, okay, to post. So it's just the final page, which seems reasonable to me. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a link page.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, did I put a reference to an additional page of contact, is that what I did?
No, but you put the links in there to So you can click on it and go to where the form is or where the, isn't
Oh,
it?
right, yeah.
Yeah, for instance, the transfer station will be open for solid waste disposal. For further details, https://www.tuftonroad.org/transfer station recycling center. So it just gives them somewhere to go. Sounds
Yeah,
good.
I think that's fine.
Good.
Okay. Next is a letter from USDA implements immediate measures to help rural residents, businesses, and communities affected by COVID-19. You've all read it.
Yeah.
Next is to Tyler Phillips, copy to you. This is Tyler Phillips, our engineer. Wanted to see about going on permitting the Union Wharf repair project. Did you know if the selectmen would like me to proceed with the permitting for sheet piling for the wooden bulkhead portion of the project, or if there are other elements like extra sheeting, dredge on North Pier, canopy on pier, that they would like to have more discussion with DES?
I was gonna
Go ahead.
bring this up in the selectmen's update.
Yep.
Because I spoke with Tyler. It appears that the DES is backing off on their original position, that we could move along the way we want to move along. And now they're limiting the sheet piling to just the current rubble pier, not extending it out onto the cement pier. And no canopy and no dredging. So it seems like maybe they need a little pushback. I don't know, it's kind of not up to me alone to do that, obviously, but. I mean, our
So they
ultimate-
seem to be more receptive initially to all of these other things that we were talking about, right?
Right.
And now they're
Now it's-
stepping back from it.
Yeah. And I don't
Did
know what
Tyler
that-
give you any idea of what might have caused that? Or if, I mean, is he dealing with a different person than was engaged before? Or-
Yeah, I don't know what the internal politics at DES is all about. I know we talked to Rainey Pelletier when he was up here. And then he got back to Tyler, I think, at some point after that. And it seemed to be moving along.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not ready to do it this year anyway.
No, but what they agree to, or what's agreeable to them will determine what we get, what we ask for in the way of a permit and what we get in the way of a permit, right? So, and we do have permitting as something we're gonna be doing this year. So,
Yeah.
my sense is that we're talking about, you need to have some additional conversations with whoever the movers and shakers are that can
Yeah, I think that's probably
bring
true.
these folks back in line.
And it could be that, maybe we need to go back to the grant and write procedure and go through that whole thing so we don't have to deal with this. But maybe another meet and greet with Pelletier, and maybe I can get Trian's back there. He was at the last meeting. I mean, I just don't want to get us half a project and then we have to go revisit it, and they use this as some sort of, precedent.
Yeah,
And I don't know what their resistance is
Well,
with the canopy.
yeah. And I don't even know that they have any, how that would involve permitting.
Yeah, I mean,
I think you have your finger on the pulse.
So-
And I was pleased with your conversations you had. Number one is, the reason for sheet piling is a safety issue. So when you have people, like we get off the fireboat, you don't fall down in the water, correct? To me, sheet pilings or making it solid makes sense to do that last portion. it's as much a safety issue as it is aesthetic issue.
Well, this project is not going to be a trivial project from a cost standpoint when we do it. It's going to be several $100,000, as I recall. So it seems to me that we want to get it right the way we want it before we go into this and then turn around and say, oh, well, yeah, we need to see if we can do this as an adjunct later, and, you know, piecemeal it going forward. So,
Unless there's some engineering reason not to go with all three parts of what they're saying no to, hey, there's a store that's going to be opening up. That's revenue for both the state and the town. More important, it's a safety issue. And
Yeah, no, I don't know what their position strength is. I don't know what they feel is gonna damage the lake by a sheet piling. Because if you sheet pile for over 100 feet on both sides, what's another 30 feet? How is that gonna
Bingo.
adversely impact the lake? And ultimately, it's gonna keep adverse impacts from happening to the lake. I mean, you're not gonna have people,
you know,
Dropping shit down in there.
one long continuous
yeah,
side on each side of the,
right.
so.
let's continue.
All right, so I'll give Tyler another phone call,
Yes.
see if we can set up another meeting.
Yes. In the spirit of communication, on the 23rd of March, Fire Chief Adam Thompson advised the Board of Selectmen that there was an untimely death incident on Sodom Road on the morning of 23 March 20. Case is under investigation by the Tufton Borough Police Department. This is US State Police Station meeting tentatively rescheduled for 6/1/20. This is from Chief Thompson. He has received a call from Seth Castles, Director at Camp Belknap. They would like to provide support to the town with their personnel and/or facility if it is needed. Adam Thompson. Next is from Adam, sent to Karen to us, guidance for COV COVID-19. Talks about actions required, cost, best practices, additional information and attachments. We've all read it.
Yep.
This is COVID-19 pandemic response, learn more. It's from the Government Affairs contact information. It's New Hampshire NHMA Legislative Bulletin 14. This is from Josh McAllister, asking about, I believe, signs. Chip Albee found a stop sign with flashing lights that he thought would be appropriate for Tufton Borough Four Corners. The board asked that I reach out to you to see if you're aware of any grants for this type of signage. Thank you for your help. And he said there are no specific grants that we know of. Additionally, there is likely more to it than just purchasing and installing the sign. HEB would be willing to explore the product in depth. Additionally, opening up the conversation with New Hampshire DOT about how dangerous the intersection is might lead to other options and potentially some funding as well. I would start with at the DOT district level and see where it goes from there. I have the information from Mark Howard, and he's given me some recommendations, and I'll type those up for the next meeting.
Okay.
This is from Walter Johnson on Molten Borough. He realized he canceled the group meeting for tonight. If any members like to participate in a virtual session next week sometime, get back to him. I know I had a conversation with you. I don't think it's necessary to have a meeting this month.
And this is about,
We get together with the
Graduation.
different towns.
yeah, or it's just a general discussion?
Just a general discussion, and we commingle some ideas.
Because there was a question, he's from Molten Rock.
Yes,
There was a question of the construction of the shooting range,
yes.
and I don't think anybody went to that ZBA meeting. But I wonder what the long and short of that was. I don't
Can
know.
we have Karen contact him and ask him what the outcome of their CBA? Was
Yeah,
that,
I mean, we're
was
gonna
that
have to
our
let them know.
CBA or their
So
CBA?
background
It's
on that.
their ZBA.
Yeah, right. It's their ZBA, and they noticed us because it might have a regional impact.
Right.
But the background on that, as I recall, is this guy put this thing up, was permitted by the town, and then somebody challenged the use after it was up and permitted. So they got to go back, go through ZBA for an exception to allow that.
And
It's
it's
something
on
about,
109,
yeah, it's
across from,
it's across from Ball Peak,
it's on the old Wilford Whitman property, I think.
could be.
Kept a cow in his kitchen. Just so you know.
All set?
Yeah.
The next is from Chief Shigori to the Tufton Selectmen, and it's just a memo on communication from the Attorney General's office relative to the right to know law and conducting meetings during the current state of emergency. This is to Michael O'Donnell from the Selectmen, and it's crosswalk request, Route 109 and Pier 19.
That's an old letter though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. I know I was on the board when someone offered to step up with $10,000 and then didn't want to wait until town meeting to approve it.
Excuse me, regarding the crosswalk, that's actually a follow-up. The new owner of the Pier 19 grocer contacted me at the DOT. So that is a follow-up. I think one of the last meetings you had, you asked me to see if you could meet with the selectmen, and we wrote back and forth, and I set him up with a conference call at the end of the month if you'd like to speak to him more about it.
And this is the DOT or the landowner?
That's DOT.
Okay.
And I'm not sure, but I think the idea is the new owner of the store is interested in having a crosswalk put in, and so by that I extend that they're interested in paying to have the crosswalk put in, not have the town pay to do it. But I don't know.
That part I'm not sure about.
I think we're all interested in having a crosswalk if they're gonna reopen down there. Because all of the public activity is on the other side of the road.
Right.
And all those little kids are gonna be crossing to get ice cream and whatever else. So it just seems like a tragedy waiting to happen. I can't imagine that putting a crosswalk in costs a lot of money.
It's like 10 grand.
To paint some crosswalk lines and put
Oh,
some
well.
signs up.
No,
It's-
it
no,
involves
it's more than that.
rectangular, rapid flashing beacons, street lighting needs to be installed to improve visibility.
Handicap ramps at both ends of the crosswalk.
How do you do handicap ramps at ground level?
There's little nodules you put in the ground that they can feel.
Got to have curbing on the sides of the ramp. I mean, they've got this whole long list of stuff.
Yeah, I'd
Yes,
be
they have.
happy to see what they've done as far as
It said-
enforcing it in Wolf.
His response in part says there are certain permits and agreements that need to be executed between the town and the state before this work can begin. To date, it is our understanding the town is seeking to fund this effort. They have yet to identify the funding source. I can remember when
And I did update, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that I did kind of recap for him the history because he seemed to have a gist of it. He asked where we were with funding, and I had said that that last gentleman there that wanted to do a warrant article in the past ended up pulling his funding. So the project kind of just
Well, I mean, it's,
went away.
maybe I've been sitting on my ass too long here today, But it's the full faith and credit of Tuftonboro. We're one of the lowest tax towns in the state. We have plenty of credit. It's, you know, if somebody at DOT is gonna question where we're gonna come up with the money, I think it might devolve into a little rough conversation. I mean, if we wanna have a crosswalk put in there, even if it's $10,000, which seems outrageous, I'm sure we can afford to put a $10,000 crosswalk in.
Right.
Oh, yeah, I don't think DOT was suggesting anything like that. It's just that I think it was 2016, a member of the public came forward and wanted to do this and pay for it and obtain funding. And the gentleman from DOT was just kind of recapping, and he understood the last time he talked to the town, they were looking, you know, to get funding together. So, you know what I mean? I don't think he was being disrespectful or anything about funding. I guess my point.
Right.
I do know that, my memory serves me correct, it's on a slight curve, there's an intersection, and it's a 40-mile-an-hour speed zone there. Those were all issues that were raised by the state.
And one of the things, as I remember from the whole conversation, that would help the most is reducing the speed limit through there. And, but there was not much interest on the part of people that live here in having the speed limit reduced. So, you know, it's, I guess my feeling is that having a crosswalk is not a bad thing. Reducing the speed limit there will at least do as much to increase the safety. And that's something that's doesn't seem to be generally popular, but if we're talking about safety, then...
I mean, that could happen from Pier 19 up to, you know, just past Union Wharf Road, as far as I'm concerned. People don't need to drive 50 or 55
right,
miles an hour.
that whole piece right there,
Yeah.
coming down the hill around the corner, and I'm sure, well, if you look at dropping the speed limit, it has to be for some length of road. The state is not gonna drop it for, you know, right, a quarter of a mile, whatever but I would certainly suggest that we want to look at that as part of the package.
Yeah.
And
Work in progress. Next is from Leanne Hendrickson, reference planning board meetings. It was emergency order 23 from the governor, and Karen has passed this information on to all department heads and board and committee chairs, and work with them on how to use this equipment.
Yeah, my understanding is they're no longer required, the planning board.
the statutory requirements for monthly meetings are held in advance.
Yeah.
The statutory requirements on response and application is held in advance. So it's not like, you know, the law specifies that within so many days when you receive an application, stuff has to happen. And that's all kind of on hold. So as with any boards, commissions, and committees, through this current pandemic, the requirements to meet are waived, and they are able to, if there's business they need to do and choose to meet, they can do that.
Mhm.
And they can do it virtually. They don't have to do it all in one place, as long as there's phone access for the public.
All of this information is in a memorandum dated today from the Board of Selectmen. Is it okay to distribute to our people?
Yeah, I think the only thing that include would be instructions on how to operate the system. I don't know if it comes with those or. And if somebody
Yeah.
decided they had to have a meeting for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And on that note,
I think I meet with people individually, it's a little bit, you know, I would need to speak to the person, but then follow up with some written instructions which I have created, separately, but they're a little lengthy, and I need to work with them on setting up an account and things, so that's why I said team.
Yep.
an editorial comment from the chair. Thank you to Bill, thank you to Karen for stepping up to the plate and getting the equipment and putting it in place. Nice job.
Now, is that gonna remain
You're welcome.
here, or is,
This will remain here, yeah.
okay, so at any given moment in time, some committee could come
Right.
together
Right.
and.
I will store it in the locked room on the side, so that if somebody, and I don't know that we're gonna have other groups come in to use it, but we'll need to get it out of there only because it's a couple $100.
Yeah,
You know, it just makes sense rather than just let it.
and Karen, you mentioned that we need to set up an account. Do we not have an account with this now?
We do have an account, but I think what she's suggesting is that each group within the town would have like a separate, not call-in number, but it's, the number's the same, but what do you call it, Karen?
Well, actually, you know what, actually, each board would have their own call-in number and meeting room ID. So for instance, the number that people called today for the selectmen's meeting will always remain the same, as well as the meeting ID number. Then if
Okay,
DBA wanted to hold a meeting, they would have their own conference call number for every meeting with the same meeting ID as well.
okay,
And I would just work with that person for them to be able to facilitate the call, you know, online. And one person facilitates online, you know,
yeah,
and show them the ropes for the rest of the setup. Or not setup, I shouldn't say, but the instructions for creating a meeting.
Okay?
and this particular speakerphone here is available if somebody wants to meet here at the townhouse. But if they want to do a virtual meeting where nobody's together, they don't need this.
Right.
They just use the call-in service. And that's where somebody needs training as to how you run it. Be the person behind the curtain.
Yeah, that doesn't seem
It's something
like
that,
too difficult.
No.
I'm sorry.
and it's something that's important, and I'll just kind of say it, I guess, since you're on video and everything too for YouTube. If people do choose to do that, it's important. There's certain things you have to follow as far as roll call votes and things like that if all board members are participating remotely, or any board members, I should say. So I can work with the person on that as well.
Correct.
Yep.
Okay, next correspondence is from Chief Shigori. He's just advising the selectmen about UPS mail handling during COVID-19. Of packages, handling of packages. Next is from Dan Barnard. He's working on the Tufton Road Times. The only changes, there will be no sticky party. They will be individually working along. Carroll County will be having a public health meeting responding to substance use disorder. Does anyone want to attend?
I think they're doing a virtual meeting, right? It's
Is
not.
it a virtual meeting, hopefully? Logging.
Yes, it's a Zoom meeting.
Zoom. And that's tomorrow, 9 o'clock. Okay, I'll zoom in, find out what's going on. Okay.
Want to keep that?
Yeah, I was just looking for a phone number, it doesn't,
Zoom would be all online, so I can register you, and then they would send you a link, so you,
New Hampshire Gov dash COVID, okay. Okay, so I'm online. Internet works.
The next is, in January, we got a letter from Alan Hanscom, engineer DOT, that was negotiating with the snowmobile, the area snowmobile club, but going down, he called it Old 109. I spoke to, in other words, they park at, they want to use the parking lot at 19 Mile Bay, and they currently are driving down Bay Road. Years ago, they used to go out of the parking lot, parallel to current 109, go across the street and onto the lake there. I asked Dennis to look into that while the rec area is being remodeled, is there a way to put the path back where it used to be? And he said he would look into that for us. The other thing is, I believe there's a new president, and they've rebuilt several bridges and have done a nice job. One not too far from here, another one over on New Road. I'm sure there's some others. And I know that they pay rent for putting a building up on the transfer station. I think they pay a couple $100 a year to the town.
Oh, for a groomer?
I'm just wondering, and I asked Dennis to consider this and to think about it, get back to me. Snowmobiling is recreation, and we want to keep them off roads and not be hit by cars and whatnot, but he'd work on a couple of these projects with us, and he said he would think about it and get back to us. And you made a comment, I think we should wait, right?
In terms of get together with snowmobile trip, right, yeah.
Yes. Northeast Resource Recovery Association sent me the bill of $166.95 for the town's annual dues.
Mhm.
This is what the transfer station belongs to. So,
Well, it's the town belongs.
yes. So Diane made a contact to remove my name from the bill. I've been in contact with Benji Mata, who submitted a bid to cut the brush at the town beach. This was budgeted for in the 2020 property. A volunteer is offered to remove the brush at no cost to the town. Okay to contact him?
As long as it's ecologically,
Yes.
Who's monitoring the cut? Okay.
I'm also hauling it off.
Yeah.
Not much, but we want to make it look nice. This is just a copy of the Primex Workers' Compensation Bulletin for coverage for exposure to COVID-19, and it's all employees. This is from me. Building cleaning program, the flu season issue. This was back on February. We've had 5 employees now, more than that, miss work due to flu and respiratory illnesses. One was hospitalized, 2 have gone to the emergency room for treatment. I would ask that should we have a qualified company clean the following areas: the police station, the town offices, this, and the transfer station, and also this area here. Clay Gallagher has contacted the company that Chief Shigori came up with, and has been in contact with him and has come up with some prices, and I'd like us to give him permission to clean his areas. Once
he
he's,
doesn't need our permission.
Yeah, it's in the
It's his
budget.
department.
okay,
Yeah.
he has all that information, so I kind of agree with him that let's use this company as a test to see if it's reasonable and effective and all that. Okay? The next I had would, and this is pending, I'd like to ask Jack the status of the property cleanups that are pending. And are we kind of putting these things on hold because if we have to go to court, you can't get a court date, right? But
Well, the course is still open. It's,
They just don't have big public gatherings in there, right?
yeah, you just can't have big public, you're not gonna get a jury trial.
Right.
yeah, I think he's done yeoman work, and we granted some flexibility on one person and whatnot, but I want to make sure he's nudging the process along. The other thing is, I sent a letter or a note to the treasurer asking him a series of questions. And he can get back to us when he can. This is from Ted Millington, through a copy to you, internet access at the town hall. It was just updating us.
Right.
You gave us the pricing. Is it okay to install? We gave you permission. Again, as I said before, thank you.
Yeah.
Any issues we should be aware of?
I don't think we need to put internet in up here. I mean,
What was the cost of it?
it's like $100 to install it. So it's $99 to install it, and it's $60 a month for the first 12 months, and then it goes up to $90 a month after that. So, not huge money, we don't really need it up here.
Yeah.
And was this bill a companion letter to this, or is it totally separate?
Okay, this is something that I recommend that we do, which is put a second phone line in here so that we can not only have a meeting with the speakerphone, but have the call-in number here if somebody has difficulty getting into the speakerphone. So,
Would you like to make a motion?
so, yeah.
So it's,
Go ahead, Chip.
okay, that's different than what I'm looking at here.
Yeah, that's
So before we make a decision on this portion,
right.
let's talk to Heather and the moderator and see if there's any movement on their end of things for submitting results by computer or whatever, or the internet. And that would be the only thing I could see
Yep, good point.
where we'd need it
Mhm.
if the state required us to do something like that. But,
Yeah.
and as far as the phone line's concerned, a second phone line's gonna enable us to have this.
And have the call-in number for somebody if they have trouble getting into this.
So we can
They'd be here.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is now tying up the phone line that's here currently.
This ties up the phone line, which means today, for somebody to
They have to
call,
call.
they have to call Karen at our house phone.
And
So,
what was the cost for running line?
it's $25 a month
Yeah.
for the second line here.
Okay,
So, I'll move that we install the second line.
I'll second.
any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And you'll wrap that up?
Yep.
And while we're still on that internet line, phone line thing, I don't know if it would change anything about how you do your business, Joe. If we
No.
were to have internet access here,
If we had internet service here, I'd put a drop camera up on the wall. Everybody could dial in and watch what was going on, but I'm not about to make that decision.
right?
You're gonna go slowly.
Would we then go live?
The only way, you have to dial in on the website,
Right.
to the drop cam website. It'd be open, just a general password like Selectmen, and everybody can watch what's going on.
Okay.
But like Bill said, I mean, if we're gonna continue up here once a week, I mean, this has to be a greater need, I suppose, to justify the cost.
Right. All right. Sorry, Ray. Thank you.
No problem. I think that's a reasonable request.
Should I still speak to Heather and Dan Barnard about their use, or?
I think so, just so that we're, not that we're gonna, I think, install the line or make the decision today, but at least we'll have the information going forward, and we can have a little time to think about it or whatever. But yeah, I would talk to Heather again.
Next is 3 items. This is from Karen. Dear Selectmen, Bill and I attended the CDBG conference call on 420. North Country Village got approved for their request of $500,000. On Friday,
Just to expand on that, there were 6 projects that were presented. 4 of them were fully funded. The 5th one was partially funded with the money that was left in the allocation, and then the 6th one was kicked back to the next funding round, which is later in the year. So
Yeah.
I thought it was great that that the North Country Village project was ranked high enough to be included for their full grant funding. And so they're, my understanding is they're getting ready to move forward. They have, we will have a grant funding application that we have to sign that will come from CDFA to authorize release of funds, and then that money plus the money that North Country's going to be borrowing will allow them to get the project done. So,
Great.
yeah.
there's 2 attached letters dated Friday, April 3rd. One is from Peter D. Billings, President of North Country Village, the Board of Directors, and he thanks Donna Lane for all her efforts and thanks her. Also, from the Board of Selectmen to Donna Lane, and a copy to Rich Sager. As you know, the advisory board awarded CDBG for North Country Co-op. Good news. The authority will prepare a grant agreement, and you mentioned that it will go out in a few weeks. It will need to be reviewed by Richard Sager and signed, and it will go to the governor and council for their final approval. Meanwhile, the co-op will select their engineer and get the environmental documents and the project design done. That's from Donna Lane. Nice job, thank you. Any other correspondence?
I think so.
Let's go to selectmen updates.
I think I covered everything of mine during the course of the meeting.
So the only thing that I will raise at this point is, when we talked about this last fall, the state has passed legislation to allow towns to aggregate utility purchase and negotiate for the for all of the power users in the town. And in order to do that, you have to start off with an advisory committee of town residents that kind of review it and go through a process and develop a strategy or approach that I gather is somewhat cookie cutter, but has to meet certain requirements in the law. And then the next step after that is it goes to town meeting for approval. So
And at that point, is everybody in town obligated to use the?
no, but what it does is it allows the community to negotiate a purchase power agreement for all of the power users, except those that opt out. So if you don't want to be part of the townwide buy, you just got to raise your hand and say, oh, I don't want to participate. The potential benefit to that is that, as we've seen on our municipal power purchase, that it reduces the cost of power, sometimes more substantially than others. But I think it's something that makes sense to look at. And if you guys are in agreement, I will do some more legwork and kind of lay out where we need to go going forward to.
Yeah, I think any collective purchase is going to have some muscle that individuals don't have, so.
Right. Right, and if it doesn't, then then you know that too,
Yeah,
and you're
no,
saying
I'm-
makes no sense to do this, right?
Would you like to recruit a couple of people? Would you like a committee of 3? Or what's
Well,
manageable in your opinion?
Let me get back to you on that
Okay.
at the next meeting, but I think I would want a group that is big enough that you get a little range of experience, but not so big that it
Right.
just, you know, becomes a herd. So,
Right, you want a group that's gonna participate as opposed to just
Right.
criticizing and listening.
right,
Be nice to get some tasks going in
Yep.
directions. And we gotta set up a 19-mile bay.
That's coming up. Okay. Anything else? I'm like you, I've addressed everything I came here for. Under other business, establishment of a 19-mile brook committee. Any thoughts?
Well, I know Gary Chahane's voiced an interest, my sister voiced an interest. I'm sure there are other folks out there in the community that would like to participate. And it would probably serve us well in that we would get it off our plate to a certain degree.
yeah,
And then discussions, because I know Steve and the other fellow that's on it, and with, what's his name?
Larry Gill.
Larry Gill, thank you. They'd like to have longer conversations about stuff. It's been a little more time looking at this study that has been done and changing stuff up. So
I'm kind of thinking, and I'm tossing these names out without asking people first, but take you, Steve, Larry, Elena, and Gary. It's a pretty knowledgeable committee right there, if you'd be willing to be part of it, so.
So you want to have a selectman on it? That's fine, yeah. I'll try not to argue with my sister too much.
Yeah, that would be my only concern.
Would it be appropriate to have Karen contact these people and ask if they'd be willing to serve before we
yeah, just-
nominate them?
Right.
Karen, are you coming in at all this week?
Yes, I have been coming in the office after hours. I intend to be in tomorrow afternoon.
Okay. So what I might
Or
do,
you say more towards the evening. but-
She's sneaking in when nobody's around.
right, what I might do is I might craft up a letter to the folks that Lloyd has listed and just ask them if they're, would consider becoming a committee for the 19-mile brook study. And then I'll leave it at your desk or somewhere around there.
Paper airplane.
And you can type it up and figure out how to get it to people. And then,
No problem.
then we can talk about it next week.
And do you have, would it be appropriate for you to come up with what a mission for the committee is, or will they come up with the mission?
Yeah, I think that if you put Steve on there and Larry on there, if I'm on there, now we can, I think the mission will start creating itself.
You will.
I think it's good to codify it, but we just need to bring Alana up to speed, Gary up to speed.
Right.
And I guess this is gonna be out there in TV land. We should invite anybody that wants to be on it to let us know.
And we do have money if you need an ad hoc secretary, like we did for the parallel committee was the Lang Pond Road Committee.
Right.
There's money in the budget to record.
Yeah, I'd like to keep our staff busy, so if we can get Linda or somebody in-house or
Yeah.
Heather's assistant.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, any more discussion on that?
Good.
All right, before I ask Joe, is there any other business to come before the board, public session?
What do I know of?
No?
I'm
Joe,
good, thank you very much.
thank you for appearing.
I think
I was just gonna say,
we
if
have
you
one
are a couple of
non-
people on the
non-public.
call, so,
I'm sorry?
oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, there are a couple people attending via telephone. So if you'd like to participate in public input, please hit *9.
Sure.
I think they have to hit *9.
Yes.
And it does not look like anybody has, so I think you're all set.
Okay. Again, thank you for your
We
efforts.
do have need for a short non-public, I believe, on legal.
Yes.
All right, then I'll move that we adjourn the public session, or
It's,
let's move into,
it's 91-A3, Roman 2, parentheses 1, legal.
L.
L?
L.
okay.
If you could just put the call on hold when you do that, and then come back, please, the public session to adjourn, that'd be great. And I'll just wait for you.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. So if I put it on hold, then you won't hear what's going on. Is that the deal?
That's right.
Okay.
Okay,
You made a motion.
right,
I second it.
I'll be yes.
Marcus and yes.
Would yes.
All right.